very interesting to look at how the Christian world and the Islamic world relate to the holiest site in the world for the Jewish people, the Temple Mount. When the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and the Temple, they left the lower part of the Temple Mount standing, which is today what we see as the Western Wall. Later, Rome metamorphosizes into Christianity, the Byzantine Empire. And they leave the Temple Mount in ruins. They actually fill the site with garbage and build their own holy site called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the supposed burial place of Jesus, in what is today the Christian Quarter and higher up on the hill above the Temple Mount. And that is actually part of their theological worldview, because the basic Christian worldview was that the destruction of the temple and the exile of the Jewish people was God's divine retribution for Jews not accepting Jesus. By leaving the Temple Mount in ruins, and by having a Christian city in Jerusalem and filling the site with garbage, it was physical proof that God had rejected the Jews and the new spiritual Israel was Christianity. And therefore we build our holy site in the Church Holy Sepulchre, they said. So it's sort of like, we have replaced you. That's the statement they were making. The Islamic connection is actually much more interesting. They take a story from the Quran about Muhammad's midnight ride, which was only supposed to be a dream ride. It's Surah 17 of the Quran. And the Umayyad dynasty in the late 7th century said it wasn't a dream ride where Muhammad landed on his flying horse El-Barak was in the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. And in 691, they built the Gold Dome right over the spot where the Second Temple had stood, and the First Temple. But look at the difference. The Gold Dome, by the way, is not a mosque, it's a shrine. In 701, they built the Black Dome on the Temple Mount, which is the El-Aqsa Mosque. But look at the difference between the Christian reaction to the Temple Mount and the Islamic one. And if you look at the actual building, you'll see that the Islamic structure there, the Gold Dome, which is the earliest great Islamic holy site in the world, actually has a very powerful theological statement. The dome of the Gold Dome is more or less the same size as the Holy Sepulchre's dome, slightly larger. The inscription on the inside of the dome is from Surah 112. Surah 112 says God is one eternal. He wasn't born, he doesn't have children. And obviously that is Islam's way of denigrating Christianity. By making the dome the same size as the Holy Sepulchre, the supposed burial place of Jesus, and by putting an anti-Christian inscription on it, because Muslims believe that Jesus is a prophet, not the Son of God, that God having children, from their point of view, is a pagan idea, that's their way of disrespecting Christianity. But unlike the Christians, by building their site, which is, by the way, not the holiest site for Muslims, for Sunni Muslims it's their third holiest site, but by building that gold dome over the site of the Jewish temple, the statement they were essentially making is not that we've replaced you, it's that we are you. We are the Jews. You got the story wrong. And we see, as a matter of fact, in Islamic tradition, the earliest Jewish connection with the site of the Temple Mount is the binding of Isaac story, when Abraham comes from Hebron to Mount Moriah to do the binding story, the Akedat Yitzchak. The Muslims changed the story to say that Abraham didn't bring Isaac. Abraham brought Ishmael, the other, the half-brother of Isaac, through Hagar. And therefore you Jews got it wrong. But within the architecture, even of what we see in the Old City today, we see how politically and theologically charged it all is, which shows us how highly contested is the whole connection with Jerusalem of the three monotheistic faiths. And that ironically, the city of peace, which is Jerusalem, is still until today lacking very much in peace because of this dispute over the theology.